All right, welcome. This is the Patriot Radio News Hour. The usual Joe Open. I don't know if we have a technical difficulty, but I will start the show. Welcome. This is, like I said, the Patriot Radio News Hour. The number to call for gold and silver, which is what we do best, 800-951-0592. Everyone knows, if you listen to the show, Joe comes in from Arizona. Joe and I had a late conversation that was bleeding into the last couple of minutes, so we didn't do our usual check when we can't come into the show. But, we'll get it fixed. And so if you listen to this on KHNC 1360, you know that Joe comes in from Arizona. I'm doing the show here in Colorado. And once in a while, things sort of go sideways, aren't working like they should. And the way that Joe comes in, sometimes that thing, being a piece of technology, if it decides that it's not going to work at any particular moment, then he is no longer able to come through here, because we do the show from Colorado. Now, in the old days, we have this guy Ramon in Arizona that ran our show there at KXXT 1010 there in Arizona, and he would do the show. But one of the things about buying a radio station like Joe has is that you can kind of keep a lot of your abilities in-house to your station. So that's why we run out of Colorado. And just like if there was a problem in Arizona, which would knock them off the air, well, if there's a problem here in Colorado, it goes the other way. But you know what? We are here June 21st. It is, in case you don't know, and most people know this, but this is the longest day of the year. This is the day where there's more sunlight than any other day of the year. I love this time of the year because you wake up and there's some light, and you go to sleep, and not go to sleep, but it depends on what time you go to sleep. I know with Joe probably goes to sleep while there's still sunlight out, because he goes to bed early and gets up before everybody. But I like those you have sunlight past 9 o'clock at night. It's warm nights, and it's an enjoyable beginning to the summer. This is actually the first day of summer. Everyone calls June summer, but actually it takes till the 21st before it's actually summer. The actual definition of summer. So I'm enjoying the summer, and we got a lot of interesting things going on. I was talking to Joe this morning about a great many things. We're planning on covering the show that comes on before this, the Common Nonsense show, and Joe's got a plan with some Catherine Austin Fitz. We're going to be covering a video that she cut, and we're going to be doing that at the 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning hours Colorado time, all the way into the Patriot Radio News Hour. So on Friday, you guys got to be ready. There's going to be quite the exciting. There's a lot of extra Joe on the radio on Friday. Today, I've got something I want to play. If we can get through the first segment and get Joe back on the air, and Joe's got a few things he's going to cover as things are getting weird out there. I'm telling you that there's I was looking at different sources of information last night, and I came across something from the mainstream media. And there's actually mainstream media that is starting to sound like KHNC and the Patriot Radio News Hour. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary when this. I noticed that when Joe puts information on the air, when I put some stuff on the air, we tend to be a couple of months ahead of somebody else, actually using the same terms, using the same language, having the same prognostications that Joe has. And it's sort of a case of that, but it's also, it's quite possible that the inflation we've been dealing with within the next couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks, might actually get much worse. I mean, think about that statement. We may get inflation in the next couple of weeks that is going to be much worse than we've already had in 2021 and now 2022. I got a clip that I'm going to try to put in here probably in the next segment as we continue on, and of course we're going to try to get Joe on the air with me so we can get this show rolling. But I did not get to talk to Joe about the special. I would dial in and see what Joe's got cooking over there in Arizona. The number is 800-951-0592. That number again is 800-951-0592, and see if Joe's already got something up and running. Sometimes it's in the middle of the show when he gets something. Sometimes he's ready before the show starts. Our conversation this morning did not get into our gold special, so I don't know what he has or if he has anything. So we'll get to that on the next segment also. So for those of you listening to 1360 KHNC, whether you're in Arizona, Colorado, or anywhere else, if you always stay tuned. If you're one of those guys that listens to the Patriot Radio News Hour, and then you go over to 1360khnc.com and stream in the Half-Empty Cup of Joe. We had an interesting one yesterday. Our guest was supposed to be Dane Wigington, and we couldn't get him. It was a scheduling conflict. Something happened on his end, and we're going to get him on later. But we played this piece, which has been very, very popular here in Colorado. I put it on the weekends in some open spots. I'm going to play that again today on the Tuesday Faking the Truth show at 3 o'clock Colorado time. The Occult Art of Law. One of the reasons I've put a lot of time into having this piece be heard on the radio station is because it speaks of things that I think a lot of people probably would agree that this is what's happening, but they don't. Nobody really wants to look at it as being fact, which is a lot of times the way that the system is set up in England, Europe, in America, all over the world, is we have a system set up to where we voluntarily sign away our freedoms. We voluntarily put ourselves in sort of a debt slave system, and we don't control our own fates. There's somebody else that barters our time and our value back and forth while we simply do what the masters tell us to do. So I keep on listening to KHNC. I'll tell you, man, it's quite the adventure. Joe and I had a pretty interesting conversation this morning. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to get the big man on here, and we'll be right back. Patriot Radio News Hour.
Hey, good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour. Sorry about that. We've got some technical difficulties, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm on through the Verto. 800-951-0592 is our toll-free number. Got a lot of things on my mind, especially, last week. It was a really tough week for me as more things came to light. The need to prepare just increased and magnified by about 100-fold. On Friday, Jason and I are going to commandeer Kevin LaRusso's show. Kevin's got an obligation. Kevin, his show is the show that's on before ours, before the Patriot Radio News Hour, Common Nonsense. Jason and I on Friday are going to do Kevin's show. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to be playing an interview with Catherine Austin Fitz, who, if you've never heard this woman, she is absolutely phenomenal. She is a major money manager. She has a stellar reputation. We play, when there's technical issues at the station, the power goes out and the Skyless system needs to reboot. Instead of dead air, we'll set up some autoplays, and she's one of them. And Jason will tell you, every time she's on, we end up getting emails and phone calls, people that, hey, who was that? Or, what was I listening to? This is going to be a show you are not going to want to miss. So that is this Friday. Kevin's on from 7 to 9 a.m. Colorado time, Arizona time. That's 6 o'clock in the morning, wherever you're listening. 1360khnc.com. You can listen there. It is going to be a great 2 hours. We're going to cover a ton of topics. And one of the things, Jason was alluding to, the conversation that him and I had this morning, and everybody that knows my story and how Jason and Brian and I came together and how we ended up buying this radio station. And I've said all along, this has been God putting me on this journey. And I'm not a guy, hey, I go to church every Sunday. You know what? I was born and raised a Catholic. I was an altar boy. I'm a confirmed Catholic. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't gone to church since I moved out of my parents' house. But I've become a pretty spiritual person. And I've been on this path, and there's a lot of times when I'm like, man, I don't know, why am I doing this? We've had a lot of ups and downs, at the radio station and all of these things, but it was very interesting because I really was struggling last week because none of this needs to be happening. The Russia-Ukraine war, I've said it 1,000 times. This is a stupid war. We shouldn't be in it at all. And then I hear things like the Pope coming out saying, "Why were we provoking Russia?" Right? Just putting things together.
Joe, it makes you a little superstitious. Some of the things are going on. I came in heavy late last year, early this year with the 222 thing. We're in the year of 222. I keep telling people we're not out of 222. So it's a weird thing that are going on in 2022. And let me just say this: you've talked about how October might be a very strenuous month. That could be where a lot of things are coming to a head. And just to add to the superstition, Joe, we're in the year 222, and we're heading into Jason. That's July, August, September, October, November.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? I didn't choose to be here. It's just where I ended up being. And every year there's a Jason, but this is the year 222. And it just happens to be that these next 5 months might be some crazy months.
And again, I've been warning about October for a while. Jay Powell's comments on Friday. If you didn't listen to Friday's show or Monday's show, you need to do it. So the game's over. We now need the central bank digital currency, according to Jay Powell. The things that are happening in Japan, the emergency meeting with the ECB last week, really put me on edge. Today, Japan has doubled down in the most idiotic policy. So everybody in the world is raising rates. Everybody stopped quantitative easing, but the Japanese are like, nope, we're going to spend. I mean, think about this. This is the equivalent of the Japanese expanding their balance sheet by $3.6 trillion in a single year. This is what they're doing right now. It's massive. They don't have an economy like the United States. And they got an economy that's maybe $5 trillion. That's it. They're not the world's reserve currency. There's no way. What they've done is decided to say, hey, everything's a complete joke. Price discovery is a joke. Our central bank, they've tried to deny price discovery for almost 15 years now. What do you think interest rates at zero really is? It's the denying of price discovery. What do you think quantitative easing really is? It's the denying of price discovery. In other words, we don't like what the price is going to be. So we're going to try to cover it up, and we're going to manipulate it. And what's going to happen when this thing blows up, and again, I'm just telling you, I'm not guessing here. You not preparing, that's on you. I've been put here to warn you and tell you to get ready and be smart with your money. I mean, the reason my son is here, same thing. And it's all up to you.
Well, Joe,
I can't do it for you.
Joe, I mentioned this clip that I want to play. It's about 5 minutes about essentially maybe you have about 10 days to 2 weeks before maybe the shelves start to get even more empty and actually don't come back for a long time. There's a regular.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. We got the 4th of July holiday coming up. I think we've got time to fit this clip in. Yeah, let's.
I want Joe. Yeah, I can't wait for Joe to hear this. Jack, if you're ready, let's play the clip. He's on the phone with Brian, but he's going to play it here.
Current polling shows 83% of Americans describe the current state of the economy as poor. This comes alongside President Biden's approval numbers continuing to drop, approaching the midterms in November. Joining us now is Frank Luntz, pollster and political analyst. And in your long career, Frank, we've seen some, I guess, other periods where inflation finally rears its ugly head, but it's been a long time, but few things really get the juices flowing, like seeing a grocery bill or a gas bill and just going, whoa. I mean, that really is, it affects everyone, and it's visceral, I think. Are you seeing that in polling?
Yes, we are. And the tragedy is that we've tried to explain this to the Biden administration because they're the ones that need to know, and they've refused the presentation. So on your show, I'm going to tell you what I would have told them if they had only listened. We are 13 days away from an absolute explosion on inflation. There are 3 holidays, there are 3 moments when Americans take to the roads and when Americans buy more food than at any other time of the year. Christmas, Thanksgiving, and the 4th of July weekend. And everyone's going to be filling up their car 13 days from now, and they can't put $40 or $50 in their tank. They actually have to fill it up, and that's when the explosion hits. They can't just buy 80% of what they want. They have to fill their shopping carts for the barbecues and the cookouts. And 13 days from now, the American people are going to come face to face with these higher prices and face to face with the fact that they can't afford it. You have to go back to 2009, 13 years ago, to find a time when these economic numbers are as bad as they are today. And the difference is that back then it affected roughly 60% of the population. Now, with inflation, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter how much you make, you're impacted by it. And that impact will be felt shortly. And finally, Donald Trump misidentified the stock market as being the aspect of the American economy that people related to when they decided whether things were good or bad. Joe Biden is misidentifying jobs. Right now, you only have a tiny percentage of Americans that feel in any way insecure or unaffected. But inflation touches everyone everywhere, and unless he gets this inflation under control, where people are not exasperated and are not furious and anxious and angry, unless he does something immediately, this is going to affect the midterms. This is already affecting his popularity, and quite frankly, Joe Biden is the most unpopular president at this moment in his term since Jimmy Carter. You'd have to go back to 1978 for the last time a president had ratings this low.
When you're conducting polls, and I'm sure you're asking not just inflation affecting you and how important it is, but who do you think caused it? Who do you think is responsible? What do you get? The Putin price hike. How many people buy into that? I guess they might say maybe part of it is that, but how many think that that's the main reason that we're in this situation?
And that's the right question to ask for a political impact. And a significant percentage, about a third, blame the war in Ukraine for what's happening, although we're not even talking about the shortages. Right now, you can get food, but it's really expensive. With what we know is going to come out of Ukraine in the months to follow, we're not even going to be able to get the food by the time we go into the early fall. And again, I don't think the Biden administration is afraid of the political impact, so they're downplaying the personal impact. And the truth is they should be candid. The other thing that people blame, about 25%, are corporations for taking the opportunity for charging too much. And again, the Biden administration is trying to blame ExxonMobil and companies like that for the reason why gas prices are so high. The key is not who they blame. The fundamental key is who they think is trying to solve it. And this is where the administration comes up short. It was the biggest mistake, and I'm a language person, and that word that they used again and again for the first couple months, that this is only transitory, there are millions of people, literally millions, who now know what that word means and now blame the administration for not doing more. So looking backward, they're not necessarily blamed for having ignored it or for having not done enough. But looking forward, they're absolutely held responsible for why this problem is getting worse and worse. And mark my words, 13 days from now is when it's going to hit its peak. Right now, 1/3 of Americans believe inflation is the number one issue. I believe that's going to climb to 40% in the weeks to follow.
That's good, Jack. That's good. There you go, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really dramatic if you've been listening to this show about what this guy is saying. And again, I've been warning you all along. The waves of inflation are still coming. We're he brought up transitory. Listen, we can sit here and I'm done pretending, because I wanted to believe that these guys were doing their best and they just were wrong. That's not what the facts are really saying. What the facts are really saying is this has been a deliberate act, and they're coming for, the Great Reset is coming, and I hope you're getting ready for it. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this Tuesday. Just a reminder, on Friday, again, we'll be talking about it all week. Jason and I, we're taking over Common Nonsense, and Kevin LaRusso, we're going to do a special with Catherine Austin Fitz and an interview she just recently did. And I'm just going to highlight different things that have really led me to where I'm at today. I guess we could start with COVID. The World Health Organization, privately, and it's the Daily Mail, Zero Hedge, some other very well-respected places have put this out over the last 24 hours, has been privately telling high-level, high-ranking government officials that it was most likely a lab leak that started the coronavirus. And I bring that up because, again, remember, they want to lie to us. And I'm done making excuses for them, because the reality is we've got to deal with what is real. That was, and again, think about all the people that got banned and persecuted for saying this. Obviously, I was saying from day one, the thing that made the most sense was, let's see, we funded it. They were doing coronavirus bat research. That was all known. Probably leaked from the lab. That would be the most obvious thing. Inflation is transitory. Another one. Right from the first day he used the word, I just started ripping him, because that's not what the data was saying, and it was so obvious to see. I did an interview with Glenn Tate in January on his show Prepping 2.0, and I warned back then that the world is going to see inflation like they've never seen it before, and yet they weren't even fighting inflation yet, or at least pretending to fight it. Then all of a sudden, look at what's going on with energy. And yet, common sense would be like the White House kicks it into gear. Hey, let's open up all these leases, work hand in hand with our refiners, work hand in hand with our oil companies. Hey, how do we fix this? What do we do? What are we going to do? Our natural gas, right? Give incentives. No, instead, the exact opposite. They actually literally have been doing the exact opposite. Not giving permits. Going, we had a mistake on a spreadsheet that we didn't realize. And then, of course, taking away land leases. Do anything but we're going to tax you guys, all right? Just stuff that's just complete idiocracy.
Of course, food producers all over the country are blowing up and fires burning down their warehouses. Of course, there's always that, too. That doesn't get reported. And, Joe, the reason I wanted to play that...
I don't even know how many we're at now. There's so many of them, you can't even count them. 10,000 cattle mysteriously roll over and die in Kansas, and it was the heat?
And I played that piece on the last segment not because it was going to give any piece of information Joe didn't understand or the audience. I do like the urgency around 4th of July that things could be worse. But the reason I played it is because that's CNBC sounding like KHNC. That's why I played it, Joe. It's because like when they start to sound like us, how bad is it really going to be, Joe?
I want everyone to know crack spreads. So this is how much more you're going to pay for gas compared to what the oil price is. Crack spread at another all-time record high. And as the guy, whoever they were interviewing there, talked about, everyone's filling their cars up with gas, the kids are out of school, everyone's going on these vacations, a lot of people haven't been on a real vacation in years, and everyone's going through. The next wave of inflation is coming. Like I said, I think we're going to be lucky if we only get 75 basis points at the next Fed meeting. We've talked a lot about power in other countries. Half of the United States is on a power alert for potential rolling blackouts. The story that we did about the water in Lake Powell, nobody had done anything. You know, I think Southern California finally put in some water restrictions. I mean, we're so close to Glen Canyon Dam not being able to produce power that will create, and look at our power bills are already astronomical. The crisis that would create, it's going to be insane. Australia today, which Australia is already enrolling blackouts, Australia is telling people not to turn their lights on, right? Don't put the air conditioner on because there's no power. One of their largest utilities, Australia, a huge coal producer too, by the way. Australia is saying, hey, we don't have enough coal to keep the lights on. Jason, it's insanity.
Makes you start to think, these smart meters they want on every house in the world becomes a little more important when you're having these power shortages, because that smart meter, well, they could come in from the outside and shut off that air conditioner if it's a smart air conditioner. If they
can do what they want, right? Hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Oh, you set the power to 68 degrees. Oh, that can't be.
And they can come in. Yep, they can come in and change it. Yeah,
you could be at 80, right?
Yep, yeah, digitally. People don't see this. I'm personally, I can't wait till we get Virginia Farber on the Half Empty Cup of Joe, because I've been trying to deal with the smart meter thing myself as we've been talking to Virginia, and it's crazy the stuff that just my little smart meter problem that I had personally, and how weird the behaviors and the language coming from the power company is about this stuff, Joe.
Yeah, and then think about no baby formula on the shelf. Now. Not that I go down the ladies' aisle, but there's a tampon shortage, right? There's this shortage, that shortage. To the guy on the interview on CNBC, hey, wait till after 4th of July. There's going to be a lot more shortages. And again, this isn't an accident. The supply chain, cars, right? There's no cars on the lots, right? My wife was driving by the Cadillac dealership the other day where we live, and she said, hey, all the cars are used. They're all used cars. They're not even, the funny part, they're not even Cadillacs, right? But they're just used cars. They don't have any new cars. Home sales today, existing home sales, big news here. Another huge drop. Now, this is the May number, and again, June is going to be even worse than this, but existing home sales plummeting. And prices still rising. It's this thing, Jason and I, we keep telling you about what we're going to have here. I hope you're going to be ready for it. 800-951-0592. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here today. And we're dealing with a few technical issues, but the show is going on here. We're talking about, at what point do we say this isn't a calamity of errors? This has been an orchestrated event. I mean, we just think about some of the stuff that we're talking about. The guy was talking about we haven't had a president with these kind of ratings since Jimmy Carter. And remember, right after they gave the election to Biden, we started drawing to parallels, didn't we, right here, about the 70s, and we had a guy named Arthur Burns in charge of the Federal Reserve who was very much like Jay Powell, which was clueless, just for lack of a better. In other words, if we want to believe that Jay Powell's doing the best job he can, I know a lot of people will say, oh, no, he's got to be, right? He's trying his best. Well, then he's a fool. A fool that got reappointed, just like Arthur Burns. Then we get this president who is as weak and really probably weaker than Jimmy Carter, because, and I say this only because I think Joe Biden's always been a patsy, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But he's also extremely old, right? So we've got cognitive issues along with he's a patsy, and Jimmy Carter was just a patsy, right? So Jason, I think this has been orchestrated. This is exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, I don't think they do. Anything happens without the controller's blessing. They have a plan. They have a system in place. Anyone that really pays attention closely with an open mind, common sense, critical thinking mind, you'll see that these things these decisions are being made. Maybe they don't always go according to the powers that be's plan, but every single thing is happening on a pace and at a rate that seems to be in line with a new world order. And you can go back decades. You can see the planning decades and decades and decades ago. And it seems like the technology just seems to get better when they want it to get better. The energy that we use, it seems to be at a supply that's just barely enough for us to get by. The amount of money that we get to use is just enough for us to barely get by. Why does it feel like, Joe, that if we move these people out of the way, took back the American form of government as it was made at the time of the War for Independence, why does it seem like we'd all flourish, we'd all prosper? Why wouldn't it? Doesn't it seem like we'd all do a lot better if we would just have control over what we want to do with our own lives? But they've gotten so many people in this country to believe that the government is mom and dad, and that is the only way that we can live a happy life. We can only live happy if the government gives us what we need. And since there's so many people like that, Joe, it's almost impossible for us to get it back the way we talk about, which is, hey, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of the community around you, and the more successful and prosperous you are, the more you can help those around you. But that doesn't exist. That just doesn't exist because there's a bunch of greedy, controlling monsters at the top of this pyramid, and there's just too much control and power for us to topple it over and get what we want. If you're John F. Kennedy and you figure it out while you're in the White House, unfortunately, they can't have that, Joe. Yeah,
I mean, when I'm watching all of this stuff play out now, I'm at this point where this is what they've decided to do. This false scarcity, as you like to put it, we can produce easily another 2-3 million barrels of crude oil a day. Won't do us any good. I mean, we could do it though, but we haven't built refineries, and I don't know when, and all of a sudden. We don't have enough gasoline. We don't have enough diesel. We don't have enough fertilizer. We don't have enough additives to make the diesel or the additives to make the fertilizer. We don't have enough computer chips, right? Like one thing after the other, and they're, oh, it's a breakdown in the supply chain. No, it was a deliberate act to make sure that we were going to have this scarcity. There was some clown on CNN the other day saying, hey, this has been the plan all along to get us into the new green age. We needed everything to get so expensive so that way going green doesn't look that bad. I don't know what the plan is, but this is deliberate.
Yeah, Joe, if you took every human being on the planet and put them in Delaware, they could stand shoulder to shoulder with a little bit of room, and everybody would fit in Delaware. Every single Chinese person, every single person in Europe, every Australian, every African, you could put everybody in Delaware, and they could all stand there shoulder to shoulder, the entire population of the planet. So when it comes to scarcity, it's only a matter of production. If you can produce it, everyone can have it. But if you decide not to, if you're the guy that gets to decide when the lever goes on and off, then you get to be the person with the most power and the most decision-making abilities in the room. And Joe, we're just, we're not a part of that family. We weren't born in that family. So, hey, let's just fight amongst each other, because that's what their controlled television is going to tell us to do. Is that your fellow man is your enemy, not the guy that's actually causing the false scarcity, not the guy that says we all got to fight over scraps of gold so that we can just barely make it to the next year. It's just the system we're in. Everyone's got to fight it out and take care of themselves. Joe, they've created. They talk about utopia, right? Hey, socialism, the utopia. We're all going to be owning nothing and be happy, right, Joe? I mean, that's what they're going to try to push us into. It's coming. It's all coming.
Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back. Final segment coming up.
Hey, we're back. Final segment and back to normal. Our crack staff, Jack, Brian, Jason, they did a great job. We got us back in the saddle here. Got all our little issues worked out. 800-951-0592. And again, gold's flat. Silver's up about 20 cents. So good news on the silver front, $21.80. Gold is down $1 at $18.39. We have another one of these dead cat bounces on Wall Street. It's up 500 points. And again, I call it a dead cat bounce because the fundamentals terrible. Existing home sales, another big drop, and this isn't the big one. They're saying next month, which would be the June number, is going to be a major drop. Of course, this is the big, this is home buying season. Sales of existing homes, this is seasonally adjusted, so take that with a grain of salt. Pardon, pretty funny there, right? Only down to 5.4 million homes sold. That is way below expectations. Sales are down about 9% from May of last year. They expect that number to be well into the double digits. There was a spike in inventory, still way low, though. Inventory still way low. I've got a feeling by the end of the summer we won't have an inventory problem any longer. But here's the big thing. Prices. All-time record high, Jason, just like we warned people about. Again, I think that the price, it will come down. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to come down. But remember, these numbers are lagging behind. The median price of a existing home now over $400,000, $407,600. That's up 15% year over year. So once again, the inflation data, Jason, going to be super hot. By the way, sales of homes under $250,000 just crashed. Down over 30% year over year. And the reason being, Jason, because there are none, right?
Yeah, I was going to say they don't exist anymore. And
they don't exist.
I think the definition of
it's like the white rhino, a house under $250K.
I think the definition of inflation will change just for the year 2022. It means all-time record highs. That's what inflation now means. It just means all-time record highs. If you hear the word inflation, it automatically translates to all-time record highs. I mean, that's just what it seems to be this year. We got a guy.
We got a great guest today.
Yeah, and I think he's still running for the governorship of Alabama. Pastor Dean Odell. I played about a year ago or 6 months ago. Brian and I played a clip of this guy, and he's got a lot of interesting information. He ran for the governorship of Alabama, so I really tried to get this guy in the air. There's a whole lot. I mean, he's a pastor, so you know he's Christian. He's got a very biblical view of the world. I think it's going to be a pretty entertaining show, Joe.
To get that gold put away, call us 800-951-0592.